Hey everyone, this is Brian Ferguson. I know if you're watching this that you're enjoying the Bumps and Thumps podcast. In order to continue the podcast and get the guests on that everyone wants to hear about, we need support from listeners like you. There are a few ways you can do this. One is going to anchor.fm, which will be on the bottom of your screen here, and click the support button. There you can make a monthly contribution to support the podcast. There's also, we have a Teespring store. We have a link down at the bottom of the screen as well for that. And we have products such as t-shirts like this one I'm wearing, backpacks, glassware, and other great items for you to purchase. Those purchases go directly back into the podcast and get on guests that require financial compensation. Thank you again for your support. Go to those websites and support our podcast, and we will continue to bring the guests that you want to hear about, past and present. And thank you for your support, and enjoy the podcast. Thank you for joining another edition of Bumps and Thumps, the talk of wrestling. I'm Brian Ferguson. My guest today is known as 245 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal, with a body women love and a man fear. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Roscoe Monroe. Roscoe, thanks for coming on the show today. Appreciate it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, Roscoe Nation. Welcome to the Squared Circle Ranch. Panther Creek is about 10 miles to my west. Glad to have you.
Well, it's great to have you on. I appreciate it. Reaching out to you, it was pretty instantaneous, and I really appreciate that. Sometimes it takes people weeks because they, busy lives get going, and I really appreciate it. So,
Oh, no, we lay back down here. We lay back in the bayou. You always got to bring the bayou with you. I've noticed you have done that today. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for coming on. All right, let's talk a little bit first about you growing up. From what I understand, are you from Arkansas?
Absolutely.
Okay. So can we talk about you growing up in Arkansas, your childhood, things of that nature?
How many hours you got? It all got started like my dad had a fishing shack. I was born in 1958. He had a fishing shack down on Panther Creek Bayou, which is like maybe 10 minutes to the west of here. Okay. And actually, the area got lost to me for 40 years. It took a cousin of mine to actually rediscover Panther Creek for me.
Oh, wow.
But it was like we had a fishing shack, and I can remember running around in diapers, mostly running from snakes, and alligator out there in the Rufus, out there in the bayou. And, we'd go out on the dock, and Dad would say, "Don't dangle your toes, Rufus will eat them," And that's kind of where it all happened. And he had a black and white TV with rabbit ears and the tin foil on it. And we would pick up Tri-States Wrestling from that would have been Cowboy Bill Watts, Leroy McGurk, Danny Hodge, Skandar Akbar, Jose Lothario, the Briscoe brothers, and then eventually the Grapplers when he moved down to Shreveport and all. And that's what I was influenced by. And, not the Memphis stuff that the folks I'm wrestling with now basically were into, but that was the influence. And I was there till like 7 years old and was growing up totally like a Roscoe Monroe. And then, of course, things happened and life changes, and we split off and moved different direction at 7 years old. Yeah. And it was lost in time. And I had a cousin who just got killed. He was 81 years old, and he had found Panther Creek for me and took me there right before his death. And all the memories came back, and therein came the genesis of Roscoe Monroe, and all the legend and everything came back. And I'm getting tears. And it was that's where that all came from, and that's what I put into my wrestling character. So
When I was looking you up, doing a little background on you, if you will, I didn't realize there was a guy named Sputnik Roscoe Monroe.
Brumbaugh. And that's all by accident. That's all by accident. Literally, Roscoe just kind of came to me in a dream. And people, I said, well, what kind of name could you put behind Roscoe? And these idiots looked at me and said, Monroe. And I'm like, out of the mouth of idiots, you better take it and run, And so I used Roscoe Monroe. I had no idea that it's Eric Roscoe Monroe Brumbaugh is Sputnik Monroe's name.
Okay.
So, and when I was growing up, Sputnik intimidated the hell out of me,
Yeah.
And scared me when I would watch him, But at the same time, I was just drawn to and fascinated by Sputnik,
Yeah.
Because he had that little thing of white hair. And he was very flamboyant, and very arrogant and fun as hell to watch, So that's kind of where all that came from, yes.
So let's talk about your training. Where did you train? Who trained you? And getting started into the business.
Okay. So I'm gonna tell on myself a little bit here.
All right.
So I moved back from Texas in the early 90s and kind of immediately got into a fist fight in a church parking lot. I got into a fight with a Catholic and was in an Episcopalian parking lot. So it was real non-denominational fight. And it's like I got to the point where I realized that maybe I needed some judo training because there were some things in the fisticuffs that I knew that I was lacking. So I started judo training. But the pajamas hurt my hands a lot. And I was there for 5 years and the dojo collapsed. About that time, the internet started and I got into YouTube and I met a Baptist missionary who traveled to down El Paso way. And he had relatives here and he would stop and I met him on YouTube and he would train me in submission wrestling. Okay. And he got me hooked up with policemen and firemen that were traveling to Waco and Waxahachie, Texas for training. And they would come by and teach me and train me and practice before they would go down there. So I got into going to tournaments and stuff in submission wrestling. So I went from judo, submission wrestling.
Okay.
And then submission wrestling got to the point where you couldn't really do it and go to work on Monday because you couldn't have your eyeballs scratched out or, a complete, hand scratch across your face and go to work on Monday. And so we went into grappling and I'd go to tournaments in grappling in Atlanta and ran in. If you got to the point where you were kind of aging out and they always had a professional wrestling ring there and I wanted it so bad. Going back to Panther Creek as a kid in diapers, I wanted to get in that ring so bad. So I kind of aged out of the submission wrestling and I got up in that ring and I was there for 3 days. They couldn't get me out of the ring. I was so concussed. I've been dropped on my head so many times.
Oh, jeez.
And the professionals that were there kind of training us said, if you go back to Arkansas, you're going to have to train or you're going to be die a very unhappy man. Wow. So I came back here and I found the meanest, baddest independent wrestler I could find, which was Norman Meklikoff, the Russian. And I'm telling on myself, I told you. And he said, I don't train, but there's this guy named Josh Cross at Tuckerman who is training. And I started there. I did 2 years of very intense old school boot camp. I did the year of refereeing. I did it the right way. So I know how to bump and I can come off the top rope. I'll be 64 at the end of this month and I can come off the top rope, which you haven't seen at mid-states yet. You will.
All right.
And it's like did it the right way, and never threw up. Everybody else threw up. I never threw up. That's some intense stuff, and for an old man to kick it with 20-year-olds was I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And did it, and then took off and started wrestling elsewhere. Ended up at SECW up in Hoxie at the fabled and haunted Flatlander Arena. And now I'm there with OCW. And then the pandemic came, and ended up with Jason Jones at Mid States, and he's just been tremendous at polishing me out. You know, him and Gary Graham and Demolition and oh God, all the people that hang around there have just been fantastic for me.
Yeah, I've been to 2 cards at Mid States that you mentioned that. I went to the one in November with the tribute to Bobby, which I have my T-shirt on.
Yes, absolutely. I saw that. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Probably, if not, but one of the most underrated, in my opinion, wrestlers in the wrestling world today.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. Him, Arn Anderson, Mike Jackson. And, you know, that's what I concentrate on. I don't know if you noticed on my Facebook page, I really tried to dig deep into the history of wrestling and pull that out. And if you look at my gear, my wrestling gear, it's all from the 50s and the 60s. And that's what I want to do. I want to bring back the golden age. You know, I call it getting bit, gator bit, you know.
Gator bit.
Getting gator bit. Bring back that golden age of wrestling, you know, where it was very authentic and real, and there wasn't really any face paint or any of that type of stuff going on. It was the personality, the character, and the event, that match itself told the story. Yes.
Yeah, I've watched you perform at Harrison. Thought you were great.
Thank you. The color commentators didn't, but that's all right.
Well, you know,
we'll overcome that.
They're biased, you know. They're biased.
Thank you.
But I mean, I believe that those independent promotions like Mid States, World Class Pro Wrestling down in Oklahoma and Texas, those are, I really think they're making a comeback. And I think people are trying to really get back into that, because don't get me wrong, you know, I'm not taking any away from the big ones, you know, the WWE, the AEW, and Impact, but it's a lot of eye candy and not a lot of the wrestling. There's more of the drama on the screen during the show than the wrestling itself. And I don't know, it's just kind of to me, the indies bring back the lost art of wrestling.
Absolutely. And you tied in on a point there that's something I've kind of got to make is, you know, I've got quite a large internet following, and they all say the same thing: get a hold and work it. You know, grab a hold and work it, slow it down. You know, and bring back that intense play inside the ring and tell the story there. You know, tell the story inside the squared circle.
Exactly.
And, you know, that's what I push for. And that's one thing I really think I can bring to some of the indies. I don't want to copy the WWE. I have to build. I'm old. I'll never make it to AEW, WWE, or any of that stuff. I'm very much aware of that. I have to build my own fan base, my own world, you know, basically. And I'm very grateful to the folks out here who follow and you know, get behind me and push. It's just the promoters, it kind of takes them a little while to catch on. I mean, the folks at Hoxie picked up on it immediately and just shoved me to the front, you know. And I'm very grateful for that, you know, but it just takes a while for the audience to understand, hey, look, this is the way it was, and this cat's doing that, you know. Hell yeah, gator bait, you know.
Gator bait. Yeah, like I said, when I saw you back in, I believe it was November, on the card in Harrison, and the only reason, okay, I'll be honest, I'm going to tell on myself. I had an interview back in late October, I want to say, with Brian Thompson, who lives up in Lebanon, Missouri here. I live about an hour from west, of Lebanon. So when I talked to him, he told me about that card down there in Harrison. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to that. So my wife and I went down there to it. Really enjoyed it. She actually, I'll be honest, she's not a big wrestling fan, but she actually enjoyed that. And then I saw the next card with Jimmy Hart, went down there for that with my son. And I tell you, it's very refreshing that the wrestlers prior to actually the matches, they have that hour or 45 minutes where they are out there talking to the fans, signing, not pressuring you to buy anything. They just say, hey, how's it going? Do you want me to sign that? Yep. Okay. If you want to buy something, great. They don't say, hey, do you want to buy this? They just talk to you. And if you say, hey, I kind of like that, then you buy it if you want it. If you don't, no big deal. And that to me too is a missing element up in that bigger echelon, because one, I've been to those big ones and you don't get autographs. I mean, it's hard if they're not out in the foyer out there, which most of the time they're not, because they don't want to be bothered, which, I kind of understand, but it's refreshing, I guess. I don't want to get on a tantrum here, but it's just refreshing that where you work at and those indies, that they do that, and it's appreciated, and it's a storytelling in the ring. That's what I enjoy the most. So I'm going to get off my tantrum here and get back to you, because you're the guest.
I just want to dovetail in on that. I think you'll notice I spent my time in the concession stand.
You did.
Because, down the bayou, we love food. So I'm having a great time passing out food to everybody. It was a great chance to meet everyone, become immersed in it. When I'm up at the show in Springfield, I usually work the door, and I just have a wonderful time in the conversations with all the audience, and to see where the audience is at, where they come from, and develop relationships with them. And, they are unbelievably loyal fans.
Yes, they are.
The interplay and the interaction with the fans is just addictive. It's almost like you have to have it. And that's one thing I hate about this virus is the inability to touch like we used to be able to hug, to touch, to bump, fists, elbows, run up against folk, hug, all that stuff that would happen before. Just is kind of like it's altered and changed us. And the power of the indies was that personal touch that we had. And that's what you saw, what Jason set up there with Mid-States is that meet and greet, as they call it. And it's an old Southern kind of meet and greet. You just come in and meet everybody, get you something to eat, wander around, talk. Some of the wrestlers just have a real trouble like interacting with people. They're standing there like a fish, but the rest of them will sit there and interact with you. Like Gary Graham is very highly interactive, and there's a number of other wrestlers there. I mean, even Meklikoff will stand there and insult you, and there's just, you get to feel the personality of the wrestlers and the interaction. And that's what you'll find that the audience really loves about a lot of the indies, especially the well-run ones, is that fan involvement.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to get in.
No.
You pay $10, $15 to get into the show, depending on where you're sitting.
And the excitement. Yeah.
The excitement. And it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to get something to eat there either.
No.
It ain't $8 for something to drink and $10 for a hot dog. It's a few bucks, which is great. And
we'll feed you right for that.
I know you will. I've ate there. Yes,
absolutely. I get a kick because I think I'm the only one that really wears a cowboy hat around there.
Yeah.
So I love that too. It's just like you just get the whole experience.
I really enjoy it. All right, I want to talk about moving to our next topic here is your interactions with other wrestlers and promotions. What was that like? You said you've interacted with some well-known wrestlers. Talk about that. I mean, who's probably the interactions you've had that have been positive? What was that kind of like for you? And you said you were down in Atlanta before we got on here and did that for a few years. Talk about that.
Oh, there was like as far as like the inception, there's a man named Nighthawk, Ron Thomas, who worked the Gulf Coast region for years. Kind of an unsung hero down there. And he was trained by Dean Malenko, and he was so smooth. I would get up in there, I was trained in judo, submission, and then grappling, and then I get into the ring with this guy, and he knows that. And he would kind of just usher me around the pro moves, which are, I kind of need to, first off, judo is two-dimensional.
Okay.
Grappling is one-dimensional. Pro wrestling is 5 damn dimensional. I mean, it's like you're on so many levels. And Ron took me and he just started throwing me around the ring, but it was so smooth. He would offer me a leg to post on, or an arm to post on, or a shoulder to post on, just things that made the moves.
Yeah.
That he knew I could take that judo and morph it into the pro wrestling, and he teased that. And he was from Dean Malenko. He could, because Malenko was over in Japan forever. So I mean, it was like, he teased that out of me, and that's where the conversation came in the hotel in Atlanta that I'd better go home to Arkansas, and if I was going to be a happy man and train.
Yeah.
And so that's Ron Thomas and another guy there named Ace King, who gave me the talk. You get in pro wrestling, you hear people talk about, well, he gave me the talk, the one that really pushed you over the cliff and made you decide, sacrifice a huge portion of your life to do this insane sport, and spectacle. So I would say that would have been the beginnings of it all right there. Yes.
Interaction. We talked about Jimmy Hart a little bit before we came on. Talk about him a little bit. You had some interactions with Jimmy.
Who again?
Jimmy Hart.
Jimmy was interesting. I mean, it was just a short encounter, but with Jimmy, I mean, he basically was from Memphis. So, there's a common core right there. I don't live very far from Memphis.
Okay.
But, what blew my mind was he was like, if there's a Wendy's and McDonald's and something there, I can adapt usually. And, he lives in Tampa, and he was like, I just went to a warmer climate, and then everything else was already there. Yeah. The Wendy's, McDonald's, and the Popeyes, that kind of thing. But it was like, when I was in Atlanta, I was around a rapper named Gucci Mane, and we could not go to the Publix market to get food. We could not, it was like they would clog the aisles wanting autographs. It's like, here, grab this cereal box and autograph this crap, give it to him, get him out of here. Yeah. It's like, it just was a life disrupted, because of the fame. Right. And I said, well, Jimmy, how do you deal with this? And he had the most positive outlook on it, where he was like, this is a part of it, son. This is what you do. And, they are the reason you're here. And I was like, God, this guy is really grounded well. Yeah. It was like, and the conversation went on from there. Yeah. There have been others. I mean, I had a brief encounter with Randy Orton. I had brief encounters with a few others, but as far as like those that have kind of left an impression, they've been mostly the ones that have been around the indies a long time. So,
yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. When I was down in Harrison for the last card, I had the opportunity to meet Jimmy Hart for a minute. Very nice guy. He signed my poster that I had of him from your event. Actually, it's in the back here. And then I had my son with me. And usually guys, if you pay them the 10, 20, whatever it was, bucks for the autograph and the picture, they only want that guy. Well, I went up, I told my son, hey, just stay back. And he said, no, get him up here.
Exactly.
Get him up here. No. He's can be in this too. So we took a couple pictures with him. He signed it. I don't know if you can see it in the back. If you're watching,
Yes.
you can probably see it
Right there.
But he is, for his notoriety, very humble, very.
Yes.
And I appreciated that. I told him thank you very much. So,
right.
But that's great. Good guy. Let me ask you this: during your career, have you ever had any real heat with any of your opponents or anybody you worked with?
Okay.
In or outside? I mean, outside the ring. I know, I get it. Inside, obviously, you do. Yes.
Yeah, I got me a trophy for that.
All right.
I honestly did not. I was wondering if you were going to ask this. I didn't know how to. And I have a reputation for not putting up with too much crap. There's just a point I hit and a switch goes off and a shoot happens. They call it a shoot. Basically, come on, I got into a fight in a church parking lot. There's not very many boundaries here, I'm saying. So it's like, I put up with just a certain amount of crap and then I get these, I don't know if you can see that. It's a shoot. Yeah. It's a shoot trophy.
Yeah, if you're watching, it's a shoot trophy. Yeah,
it's a shoot. It's a shoot trophy. And that's people run. It's kind of like all of a sudden the fists start flying and people start running in the locker room, and it's like, oh God, it's a shoot. Or in the middle of a match, people kind of get a little bit too stiff and you've warmed them a little bit too stiff. And then you start, you've been hit on this side of your head because like the sparks are kind of like a blue and white. And if you hit in the back, they're red. If you get in the front, they're kind of green. So, you're basically getting pummeled and it's time to shoot. So, there's been a few.
Huh?
There's been a few, egos bump into egos and stuff like that, but when it all comes down, and I'll be honest with you, the business has taught me how to forgive and how to move on and how to not sweat the small stuff. Don't pole vault mouse turds is what I'm calling it. I call it, you just don't sweat the small stuff. You just keep going and keep your mouth shut and head. I sound like a slave being released from the fields here. You just keep going forward, and you head to the promised land.
That's a new one. I've never heard that. The pole vault, don't pole vault.
Oh yeah, you don't want to pole vault mouse turds.
That's a good one. I've never heard that
in the wrestling business. You want to just kind of let things slide. And that's hard because there's still people like even last night I was talking to a booker and he's like, I still have resentment. So I'm like, kind of, yeah, I think we all do. I mean, I've got a trophy for it. So that kind of answers your question with that.
No, I know there's some always a little bit of heat from a lot of people. Forgive and forget. I try to. I'm kind of like you. I can only take so much, but and it's probably hard because if you get hit wrong in the ring, it kind of makes you upset. Like, you're kind of shocked you got hit that hard, or and most of the time it's probably an accident. When if they slip and hit you, or if you're doing a move and you don't land right or something. 9 times out of 10, it's an accident. It was
right that could happen like 10 times, but that 11th time, I mean, come on. I mean,
yeah. It's kind of like right?
And disrespect is my other thing. It's like if you disrespect, and I'm old, and the thing about old people is that, life in prison really doesn't mean that much to us at this point in time. It's like, what the hell, hit him.
All right.
It's a shoot. But I don't want to get a bad reputation because I really get along with everybody.
Oh yeah, no. I follow you on Facebook, and I'm going to put that down at the bottom of the description so people can get on there and follow you. And speaking of that, I'll just touch on that real quick on your Facebook page. If you follow Roscoe Monroe, I'll have the link at the bottom of the description. he has all kinds of historical pictures and descriptions at the bottom of them of what they're about. And it's really interesting. I mean, there's some things I've seen some of those pictures before, but some of them I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know that. I'm not no wrestling historian, but I try to, keep up on, the past and when I prepare for these podcasts. And you have a lot of interesting content. I will say that. And I appreciate it. And I know the fans out there that follow you appreciate it. So yeah, follow his page when I put it down.
Yeah, get bit.
Yeah, get bit.
Get bit. The thing about all that is I'm very, very grateful for all those people online. It's the passion is amazing. There are times I just have to bite my lip because they want to get the historical facts perfect, know.
Yeah.
And there are times I'm just in a foul mood and I just I have to just keep going. Once again, pole vaulting mouse turds, but it's like in trying to find the source, the absolute source of some of these vintage classic photos is become an impossibility at a point, and but just to see the level of passion and the dedication that some of these folks have toward that has just been really uplifting and really has helped my self-esteem and all. And they push forward. They're like, oh, your next wrestling gear has to be this, or, and I think my last match I wore a Baron von Raschke and Kurt von Hess and, tribute pants with the black with the red stripe down the side, and I try to really dig deep and pull that stuff out for people. And I even used the claw in the match. I wanted to pull back some of the old moves and stuff from that. Thank you for noting that. I really appreciate that.
Of course. No, you're wonderful. I mean, I haven't had much interaction with you, but when I have in person at the concession stand, you're very nice, very humble. And all those guys are, but I mean, I really appreciate it. And
I've been trained right.
So, I mean, kind of like we're talking a little bit off wrestling today, these indies versus the big ones. Let's talk about that. So your opinion on the difference of today's pro wrestling, the major ones versus the indies. What's your...
Well, okay. So my dad had a heart attack. I had to move back from Nacogdoches, Texas, and I lived on a sailboat on Lake Ouachita for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
It's the early 90s. I did a little bit of work, political organization work, and also in my profession, I'm a semi-retired pharmacist at this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you didn't know that. He's got brains and brawn. Oh, my God. But it's like, I love Stone Cold Austin, but he got up there and he flipped people off. And I said, kids are going to come in the pharmacy Monday morning and they're going to flip me off. And I worked in Hot Springs National Park at that time, and that's where the sailboat was. Yeah. And sure enough, Monday morning, the first thing that happened, the kid come in here and just flipped me off. I was like, I'm done. And I would tune in every once in a while thereafter, but I just felt that had crossed the line. I did not realize, especially since I started in the indies, how people look up to wrestlers or see them as role models. And it concerns me. It concerns me with the big ones, WWE, AEW, and stuff like that. And it concerns me with the indies sometimes. It's like, think about the impact that you're having on your audience. Think about, where are you wanting to steer this? You can't be so egocentric and selfish that you don't realize just the powerful impact you have on society and how these kids are acting in school, the clothes they wear, all of that, and that's the problem that I have with the way things are now, versus, that's one reason why I want to bring the golden age back, is because literally it was more simplistic. They just had a ring and some lights and the wrestlers told the story.
Yeah. And I'll when I was a kid, I grew up I was born in 70, and I grew up, started watching wrestling pretty heavily in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. And good guy, bad guy, right?
Right.
They talk a little trash on the mic for maybe 2 minutes, and then they go to the ring and do their business.
And work
Tell
it
that
out.
story in the business. One of my favorite heels of all time is Nick Bockwinkel.
Oh God, isn't he great?
He is fantastic. He was I hated that guy with a passion as a kid because I really believed it. I really believed he was that much. I don't want to cuss on the air here, but he was just that guy that you just wanted to see the tar beat out of him and lose.
Oh yeah.
And he'd always find a way, either with Bobby Heenan or Ray Stevens or somebody, to get him out of a jam at the end. He'd get the crap knocked out of him. And then all of a sudden he'd come back and beat you somehow. He'd cheat or whatever. And it just used to burn me up. And that fire. And you don't see that anymore. You don't see that fire. You don't see managers interfering anymore. In fact, I don't even see managers anymore, to be honest with you.
Right.
And that's the lost art of it to me. I don't know, from your opinion, you've actually been in the business. So you've interacted in that era. Talk to me, that changed for you when you talk about Stone Cold. Well, I'm saying actually when you were in the ring or in a territory or independent area. Talk to me about that.
I hope I'm not okay. I hope I'm not going to offend some people with this, because some of these people I dearly love. So there are people who like to wrestle in spots. They like to, well, this looks great. We'll do this, and this, like a capsule. And then we'll add this capsule to it. And then we'll add this capsule to it.
Yeah.
I was talking to Joe Kazana-Fritz in the Knoxville area. He runs promotions there. He's been in the WWE, whatever. So he tried bringing back old school exclusively. He found out that was very difficult. He said, to be a success today, you have to combine both the newer stuff, the spot stuff, and the old school stuff. When I come into the indies, there's a problem. My brain is getting better at it, but it's really hard to remember 16 moves in a row.
Scripted, yes.
I get in there, and to me, it's like, if the guy gives me an arm, grab it. If he gives you a leg, if he turns his back to you, grab it, hit it. Yeah. And that's the big thing. I went to go wrestle in Ripley, Tennessee, and I ran smack dab into the Memphis style like a freight train. It was like, you get into the ring, and, like you are in Harrison, and the transitions are, if you're doing an intuitive match, is you get hip tossed, the guy will circle around, grab you by the head, pull you up, move you into the ropes. He's going to work something else. Yeah. In Memphis, they'll hip toss you, kick you in the head, hit you in the face, stomp on your stomach, pull you up, slam you into the ropes, forearm you, hit you upside the head, and then do their next move. So it was like, I thought, oh my God, I hit a buzzsaw, so it's like the difference between that and the newer stuff is difficult for me to deal with. And plus, I'm a big guy, and it seems to be more like the newer stuff is more geared toward smaller, more acrobatic type stuff. And the thing is, I'm 245 pounds, and I will come off that top rope, trust me. But, I can't do a 3/4 flip. What is that Canadian destroyer? Da, 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 da. I mean, it ain't gonna happen. I'm 65 at 4 years old almost, and I ain't risking my neck,
Yeah. you forgot to say 245 pounds of twisted steel and sex
appeal.
You forgot No, I know. I know now, because I guess it's ingrained. You've had almost 30 years of the newer stuff embedded into the system, with the flying off the ropes and all these fancy moves and that can get you hurt pretty quick. I mean, if you land the wrong way or you come off something wrong, top rope and you slip, that could be it,
Well, therein lies the rub. You'll be surprised. I'm really in shock at the number of young people who are picking up on the old school and who are absolutely becoming it. They got bit. I mean, they are addicted to it.
I think
it's refreshing.
Yeah, I think what it is, it's like a cycle. Okay. And to me, it's, I think I'm 51. All right. Right. So
we need to wrestle if you're 51. That's perfect age.
Oh, you whip me around like a rag doll.
No.
You'd have to have the talk with me because.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe this is what that is right now.
No, but my kids, they're all adults now. But I mean, they grew up in that era, the late 90s, 2000s. And now I see it revolving again to where when I was a kid, it's starting, not the big ones, but I'm saying the independents. Okay. Like, when we went to Harrison, it was enjoyable. It wasn't like my wife, she doesn't really care for the other stuff, but she said, I enjoyed that because they
very
have
interactive.
Yeah. They have interactive. They have enough of the character in the ring and they actually wrestle and do good moves. It's not all drama and reality, based TV stuff.
Right.
And it was refreshing for her. So I get it. I'm glad it's coming back. I really enjoy it. I enjoy watching you.
Thank you.
And
so this little outfit that I'm with in Hoxie there, the Outta Control Wrestling.
Outta Control.
They've, it's like, I had this incredible, I didn't want the pandemic to destroy the Flatlander, the building itself. I didn't want the people to abandon it to history because so many wrestlers broke their teeth in there and everything. It was, and then OCW come along and they use like an old horror B-rated movie genre kind of feel to it,
Yeah.
But because of the pandemic, because of how things change, I don't know that we could ever go back to the golden age, but they're morphing it in a way to where they kind of have done that.
Yeah.
Using some of the newer video and imagery. And that's one thing I've found is that imagery is everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much now.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, Roscoe. I think it can come back. Now you can add some of those features of today, the technology, the production quality, I think is a lot better than it was obviously in the 70s and even the early 80s. When you have those, your indies, the technology is a lot better. It doesn't look like a reel of a home movie made in the 1960s anymore with the lines going through the reel. It's a lot better. And I think some of the fundamentals of the early days that you were talking about, like interviews, okay? You don't have to be in the ring talking about how great you are for 20 minutes of a show. It should be, you have the announcer, the broadcaster there, have a little stage area, talk for 2 minutes, tell your piece, go to the ring, do your business.
Right.
I think that's going to come back. I really do.
Oh, fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And the drama of the 20-minute spats with, I won't mention any wrestlers, I don't want to get sued, but people in other organizations that do those 20-minute spiels on TV, wasting 20 minutes of your time about this and that. I think that's going to start going away, and they're going to concentrate more.
So. I hope so.
And some of these programs are 3 hours, which is a long time for television. And
yes, it is.
Runs out of ideas.
Well, I think, because of Facebook and because of some of the other things, people's attention span is really shot down. If you ever read like Malcolm Gladwell, his book Blink, and just about how our attention spans have changed with technology and stuff. And that's when I said earlier that imagery is everything.
Yep.
And that's why sometimes, like with one promotion, if they lock down one of my matches and copyright it, then it's like I can't get to it to pull the imagery out, to put it on the social media, to get it out to the world. It's like it cuts off one of my arms. And it's got to where it's like imagery itself. And of course, it's really hard to monetize imagery online and stuff. But it's like, to me, I think that's where we're going is, but you can still do the old school. That's what old school was very intense, simplistic imagery that drew you in. That's why you were in front of that black and white, TV with the rabbit ears and the tinfoil just sitting there like this, is because of that imagery. You saw this big, burly, muscled up man beating the hell out of the other big, burly, muscled up man. And you're fascinated, Why is this going on? Oh my God, did you see what he just did? I wonder if that headlock hurts. I'll try that on my friend Johnny across the street here later. It's just, where does that come from? We got to get back to that. I really like this.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing are the characters too. I think that, it used to be back in the day, everything wasn't trademarked or copyrighted per se. So I'll give you an example. Hulk Hogan, right? When before he got big in WWF in the mid 80s, he could go to AWA where he was hot. He was Hulk Hogan. He could go to the NWA Mid-South or whatever. He was Hulk Hogan.
Right.
Now you're Roscoe Monroe, right? But if you were signed to WWE as Roscoe Monroe, guess what? They'd probably take your name and you'd have to be, somebody else if you left and went to Impact Wrestling. They know who you are, but, I got to change my name because they think you're stealing money from them. That's what irritates me.
Yeah, I've ran into that actually. The imagery contracts, it kept me at one place. I signed an imagery contract for 18 months. And, the people were like, well, you could leave at any time, but if you understand the imagery contract, if you understand what, the implications of what was said inside that, it kind of it forced me to be there, basically spinning my wheels for 9 months of that 18 months. And, I said to myself, I'll never get involved with another imagery contract again.
Yeah.
And it may be why I'm not wrestling at one affiliation right now, or federation, is because I just shied away from an imagery contract. It's like, I don't think they understand the full implications of where those imagery contracts go and do. And I don't like seeing them necessarily get infiltrated into the indies, because, that's real iffy. It's like, I don't want, and that's even happened here locally. Someone started up a federation during the pandemic and made people sign a year contract with them. And I was like, I don't want that. I want the freedom to be able to kind of move about and everything. Now if I get a heavyweight belt, yes, I understand I have to defend that probably every Saturday night.
Yeah.
I understand that.
I think people are so, because of what happened, almost 40 years ago now with the invasion per se, that promoters are scared that the talent like yourself, okay, you're working for me, and I understand you need freedom, you need to go other places, but if I have a show and I'm advertising you, and you call me and say, well, I'm sorry, I know I told you I'd be there, but now I'm going here because I'm getting more money.
And that happens.
It does happen. And that's unfortunate, because my understanding is back in the day, and correct me if I'm wrong, that when you shook a guy's hand, a promoter or male, female, whatever, shook their hand, said, hey, you know what, I'm going to be there. 99% of the time, they're going to be there. They're going to show up. They're going to get their pay of what they were guaranteed or whatever by a handshake.
Right.
And now you have to, in the big ones, you got to sign this contract.
Right.
And I can't use your name. You can't use this name. And you can't work for 90 days after if you get released from us or you decide to leave.
Right.
I think that's crazy. But
well, in one way, it helps your self-esteem fantastically knowing that you're that important. you can actually command that much control over a situation. But
yeah.
I agree with you 100%. And the thing about all that is in this business, one thing I've learned is your reputation's everything. It really is. You've got to have. That's one thing I've tried to do is to protect that and keep that. And in my shoot world, I did some young and stupid things, and it never has gone away. It's like, it just won't go away. So it's like all of a sudden here I am. I start this unbelievably shocking second career of professional wrestling. I mean, honestly, a jump from being a pharmacist to a professional wrestler is kind of
it's a big jump.
Unusual. I mean, it's unusual.
Yeah.
So it's like I knew that reputation's everything, and that's maybe one reason why I have problems with the shoot stuff is I demand respect, but it's like it just that era is gone, and of course it was all based on respect, and it was all based on your reputation, and there were people's careers ruined if they did stuff like that, and people are kind of flippant toward that right now. You'll see it in the indies. You'll see somebody book a date and then shift over to somewhere else, and that's wrong.
It is wrong. You're breaking your word, one, and two, it's just unprofessional. Totally unprofessional.
Totally. And that's another thing. I don't think people are versed in what's professional and what is not. And I was lucky in that I spent like 40 years in a profession, and basically got took behind the woodshed a number of times, and taught what professionalism was, and how to be humble and how to be respectful in all situations, pragmatic, and when you don't get that and it's not there to be taught to you, then I don't see where they will get it.
No, I understand. That respect thing is big for me too.
It gets worse as you get older.
It is. It gets worse as I get older. Some much younger person says something sarcastic or something to me.
But wait, you'll be there.
It's not good. But anyway, so interesting about the pharmacy aspect. I didn't realize you were a pharmacist. So
yes,
what got you into being a pharmacist?
I wanted a good retirement.
Well, I hope it worked out for you.
No.
That's why you're wrestling, right?
Yes. Oh, there's no money in wrestling at the moment for me, that's for sure. I haven't quite hit that apex yet, but no. But now it's like I had to do something. I got a scholarship to the University of Arkansas Fayetteville. This is like probably about the time you were born. Hell, I could be your father. That's distressing. That's distressing, Brian. I could probably be your father. But it's like there were 22,000 students from 140 countries, and there I was. I had to do something with my life. So I tested out real high in biochemistry. So I said, well, I'll just do this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be pretty intelligent to be a pharmacist. I mean,
no, I'm dumb as a box of rocks. I've been tested twice. I have the IQ of a state trooper, so don't worry about it.
I don't buy it.
I mean, that's why I ended up a knuckle dragon wrestler. I mean,
well, we'll close this out. I want to know what you're doing now. What's your plans here for the immediate future?
It's developing the fan base more, developing the historical context more. I kind of want to concentrate, on two federations.
Okay.
I like the Hoxie one. I like OCW. We'll see where Mid-States goes.
Okay.
Mid-States has been kind of a timing thing with, I had heart failure, and then I'm coming back from that, and then I had the viruses, and then that's when you saw me there at Harrison. So it's just, everything was all skewed with that. So let's see where that goes.
Okay.
And just really concentrate on that and develop the fan base and see, you know, I've got the internet. I need the local folks to kind of come along. And, you know, I think they're there and they want it. It's just the opportunity hasn't hit. Yeah. Whenever I was the champion at the OCW there in Hoxie, that was a wonderful experience. It was incredible. It was an incredible push. The visuals, the social media stuff that they pumped out with me and everything was just outstanding. And literally a worldwide viewing audience because of the internet, and that shook me. I mean, you get messages from Austria, Spain, England, Singapore, the Philippines, Australia, and you get all these people like, oh, I saw your stuff, my God, you know, and, you know, I'm an old man. And it's like, well, you know, that's really a great boost for my ego and stuff. Yeah. But just the ability to reach out like that. Now I need to bring it home. Yeah. Now I need to get butts in the seats locally, you know, and that was a great experience there for me at Hoxie, being the champion and pushing it forward. Let's see what happens with Mid-States and some of the others.
Yeah, I can tell you from personal experience, I've seen you in person. I've seen you wrestle in Harrison, Arkansas, where you're in Mid-States. I didn't realize your age, and you are in phenomenal shape for your age.
Thank you.
And yeah, you are in phenomenal shape. Most, I shouldn't say that. Some people your age are not in such great shape. I'll just leave it like that. And you know, I enjoy your in-ring ability. And like I said, you know, folks, I want to tell you, follow Roscoe. I'll have it down in the description, Roscoe Monroe. And if you see advertised events in your area when he's on the card, you need to go. It's not expensive. You, sir. Yeah, it's not expensive, $10-15, whatever it is. It's not very expensive. You're going to have a great time. And
Brian, thank you so much for this. I was so afraid to do a podcast.
No,
this has been absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad you got bit. You've been gator bit.
I have.
Welcome to the Roscoe Nation. You definitely got the value with you, my friend.
All right, I appreciate it. Roscoe Monroe, sir, thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it. And folks, follow this man on Facebook. If you're watching, subscribe to our channel if you haven't. If you're listening, subscribe to the podcast. We really need your support. Bye, Roscoe. Thank you again, sir. Appreciate it. Everyone, I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody. Bring the bayou with you.